So I decided if I could hang a shingle anywhere and work anywhere, I could pick art or real estate as two areas that I could run my own business. And since my family did real estate, I, of course, decided on art. And so I went to art school and started an art advertising agency, and that got me into the communications end. So part of it was, how do I affect change? How do I influence people? How do I make them have a light bulb go off? And also transfer that feeling that you talked about, that Maya Angelou has always said, it's how you make people feel. I have one rule in the office that I tell all my employees, and it's that everyone who comes in leaves feeling better when they go out the door. I don't care how you do it. So it's all about feeling.
She gives you wine.
And lots of wine. We do. We have the champagne in the fridge. We have everything. Cup of tea, great work, whatever. So when we sat around and thought of what is it about women and what drives us, and all of us seem to have isms that we wake up in the morning and somehow our value systems we follow. And I'm sure every one of you actually has a couple of quotes that ring every day. Mine is one of Stephen Covey's greatest tenets, which is begin with the end in mind. And I know exactly what I want, I don't know how to get there, when I walk into a meeting. And I leave the journey for itself. But whether it's just in a meeting, whether it's going to the White House, whether it's the intention to start a business, I saw myself, I'm going to run the biggest ad agency. And we built to one of the 12 largest agencies in the Denver area originally. And I was 24 years old. And just like Erin Carson or any other great ladies who spoke this morning, I think this is one of my most important tenets.
When I think about my journey, I think a lot of it is just driven by exactly that. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I got several degrees in my undergrad, just taking classes that inspired and drove passion in myself, and where I actually wanted to get up and show up at class. And so when I came away from that, I said, I want to work for a company who has values that I believe in and something I believe in. And I think, when AJ pulled the room and we realized, how many people are actually active in sustainability in this room, that was sort of where I was at. It's really hard to get a job in sustainability or to work in sustainability. So how can I bring the passion that I have and the thinking around sustainability to any business? And my real journey started when I was very young as well, and thinking about, I was actually at a county fair with my family looking at like prize animals and prize chickens and all of this, and just being, like, wow, this is like 4-H, people do this. They raise beautiful animals and get blue ribbons. And then I walked out of that tent and was just like surrounded by rotisseries and giant turkey legs and people gnawing on all of that. And I kind of looked behind and looked in front of me and said, wow, this is a really interesting food system we have. And so I took that and I really held that with me for the rest of my life. I became a vegetarian, I became a vegan, I became really passionate and inspired about food. And when finally it came time to enter the workforce, I started with Whole Foods. I started on that journey and kind of continued it. I actually moved out to Boulder and went to the library and looked up every food company created in Boulder. There's a lot of them, and just started applying and knocking on doors to everyone. I applied to Silk 6 or 7, maybe even 8 times for any job they had open, and just wrote a really good letter about why, even though I'm not qualified, you should hire me and I should work for you. So I actually got a foot in the door through supply chain and operations, which is a really great foundation and a really great way to learn about a business and bring it forward. And so as I got those opportunities to then think about sustainability and start integrating sustainability, can start with the easiest, simplest things like recycled paper or two-sided printing. And so, any job that you're in, whether you work for yourself or you work for an organization, there's opportunity to figure out what your passion is, how to make sustainability meaningful to you, and then how to continue integrating it into what you want to do and where you want to be and how you want to drive that forward. I'm really fortunate to work for one of the fastest growing food companies, not one of the fastest growing food company in the US, which means that there's tons of opportunity for change and tons of opportunity for influence. But how many people actually at the company have sustainability in their job description? 2. for a $3 billion company. I think we're all faced with this. So how do you continue to be an influencer, be resilient, and help create the change and passion in people who aren't driven by it in the same way that you are? So I think my quote, Jane Goodall, out of my anthropology degree and background in environmental archaeology, is, everything you do makes a difference. You get up in the morning, every choice you make makes a difference and has an impact. You just have to decide what kind of difference that you want to make and where your impact can be.
When people ask me how did you get to where you are now, I'm sort of stumped, and then I have to look back. I am always in deep admiration and humbled by people who get up and know exactly where they're going. My career path has been more of a gnarly mountain bike ride. You never know what's around the corner, but you better stay upright. And that's how I can describe it. So my first environmentalist moment happened when I got sent to a girls' school in England, and I won't go into why, but I decided to throw the first co-ed dance at that girls' school ever. And the only way I could get it approved if I had a worthwhile charity. And so I picked Greenpeace because I thought the whale issue was really important. This was the 70s. I sort of repressed that time, but we did raise the most money ever for that school for Greenpeace for that co-ed dance. I don't think they ever had one after. But came back to the States, and I really wanted to become an English major. And I applied to Northwestern in English and engineering. And my father said to me so profoundly, "How much do you like waitressing?" And I was like, not so much. And he goes, "Well, if you waitress, that's pretty much what you're going to do when you graduate. Graduate with an engineering degree, and you can buy all the books you want." I'm like, "Oh, okay, sounds good." Went to started material science, went to, became an industrial engineer, was recruited by General Motors because I was a woman. Was the first maintenance supervisor for Pontiac Motors on day shift. That was filled with lots of experience, and you want to talk about change. To stay upright, I adapted this because lots of people want to see you fail. I was 23 years old, had 31 UAW workers working for me who were old enough to be my grandparents at the time. And if I faltered, would they want to see me fail? But I had a meeting and I said, "Hi, I'm your new boss. There are 2 rules. Here, I don't know shit, excuse my French, and B, I'm your boss. So we can make your lives miserable or you can work together." And I learned the power of collaboration, a shared vision, and moving forward to an uncharted territory. Ooh, that sounds like sustainability. Sustainability didn't exist, the Brundtland definition didn't exist. Change management was hot, just-in-time inventory. Quality management. I spent the next 8 years in the automotive industry in quality management. And this thing about change. And during that time, my friends called it the greening of greener. Yes, that really is my maiden name. Because I was like, wow, these are really big issues. This is bad. They're starting to hear about this thing called carbon intensity and what's going on. I was working for ABB, a company who was one of the first signatories to the climate declaration that came out of Brundtland in 1993. And they were, this was important to the company. We were a Swiss-Swedish company, it's still in existence. And I said, I want to be part of that environmental task team. And I was a high performance person, and so I got kind of what I wanted. They asked me to go to Switzerland, and one of my few regrets, I said, no, I want to do the sustainability thing, and you don't really have a position. I left Detroit. I was working in interfaith climate change work at the time, because I figured, isn't this God's job too? Let's get God involved in this. And I knew it was time to leave because I had to take a vacation day from a company who was building a coal plant to help lead a prayer protest outside said coal plant. I'm like, and I let them know because I didn't want a conflict of interest. I'm like, it might be time for a new job. Met Amory Lovins, met Hunter Lovins. I was in Detroit after almost 20 years. And he said, would you like to move to Aspen? I was single at the time. Aspen, Detroit. I'm in. Worked for Rocky Mountain Institute. Was in this path called sustainability. Helped with the launch of Natural Capitalism. I've been in various consulting positions. Had my own firm for a while. Integrating this thing called total quality management. Thinking systems, thinking value,
Efficiency.
Efficiency. Thanks. Yeah. Because this thing called waste, which is really, really important in total quality management, these people in sustainability were talking about waste, different sides of waste. But the thing about it from a business, if you have waste within your manufacturing system, you're paying for it. Who here in manufacturing business doesn't want to get rid of waste? We all want to get rid of it. We want to get rid of waste in our lives. Xanterra Parks and Resorts was a client of mine, and it was an opportunity to come on board, go back in-house, and for the almost 3 years now, I've been in-house at Xanterra Parks and Resorts. We're the largest concessionaire to the National Park Service. So Park Service takes your money, and we get it from there for the properties, and we try and provide a memorable experience in some of the most beautiful places on Earth. Several years ago, the company also bought some cruise ships. You want to talk about carbon intensity. So we also have, well, we will soon have now 6 in the fleet of small luxury cruise ships. We also have a train, a full-on train that goes into the Grand Canyon, Vermont bicycle tours, and some other eclectic adventure travel. It's an interesting portfolio, and you have lots of different sustainability challenges. But in the end, it goes back to, are we creating value for our owner, and are we creating value for the guests? And how do we do it in a way that leaves the world a better place? It goes back to some of my quality definitions. And this damn the torpedoes in full steam ahead, because in any type of change management role, there are people who will be aiming those torpedoes for you. And you can get caught up in that warfare, and you can get caught up in that fear of being annihilated. But in the end, the only thing you can do to keep true to your mission is this: